Hey everybody, it's Jurius Doctor, and today we're going to talk about Star Citizen. In specific, we're going to look at the starting game packages and what they come with, as well as the digital licenses to the game, purchasing or pledging for ships, and the upgrade process. First thing you need to know about Star Citizen is that you really need to buy a game package. You cannot play the game without at least owning a digital license for Star Citizen, and that's to play in the public universe and in the public test universe. You can also purchase packages that include Squadron 42, but that's essentially a bundle where you're getting a digital license of Star Citizen and one of Squadron 42 as well. Your game packages that include the purchase of your digital license for Star Citizen, essentially a pre-order because this game is an early release, will include a starter ship. From that starter ship, you can always upgrade, exchange, or even refund that package at a later date if you're unhappy with the game. However, you cannot log into the game without a game package. Reason for this is that you need that digital license to play the game. When you go to the Roberts Space Industries website at robertspaceindustries.com, you'll find that there's a pledge store. Pledging to the game is exactly that. And it's the reason they use the term pledge and not purchase, which is that this is a crowd-funded game. And all money that goes towards the game is actually funding the ongoing development of this game. They have a public funding tracker available through their website, and you can watch the development and the current sprints and progress of the game. Now, game packages, again, will include anyone that says starter pack is going to include a license of Star Citizen. If you get the Squadron 42 standalone package, you're basically just buying a license for that specific title. Squadron 42 is a single player game with professional voice acting and all kinds of other things in it. Squadron 42 also includes voice actors like Mark Hamill, so when it releases, it'll be a very exciting title. Now, the prices that you see here are as screen capped about a month ago when I started recording some of this content. Prices that you see in this video may not be exactly as reflected on the RSI Pledge Store site, so do take that as a grain of salt as you're watching this video. Also on the website, under the section Extras, is an area for standalone ships. Please do not get suckered in by the idea that you're going to get these ships for cheaper and be able to play the game. You must start with a starter package, because the defining characteristic of starter packages or those bundles is that they include a digital license to the game. Standalone ships are pledges towards ships to get additional in-game assets. Why would you want to do that? First question. Simple answer is you can purchase ships in-game with in-game credits. After grinding a little bit, save up some money, buy the ships in-game. For the starter ships, this is actually quite reasonable. These starter ships are not expensive. But when you are purchasing or pledging money towards these ships in the standalone ship category, just as you would if you were purchasing a game package, all ships purchased with real money come with insurance. Now, the game is in early access, and during the early access period, through alpha and beta, up until the game goes public, insurance functionally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter right now. If you go to a space station or to a spaceport and you take a ship out, take it out into space, and you get blown up, spawn back at that medical center, you can go back to the spaceport, pull up your fleet manager, and summon another copy of your ship by submitting an insurance request, basically your insurance claim. And the insurance claim is going to come back and deliver a new copy of your ship as it was last configured to you. That is currently included across all ships. All ships have a minimum of 6 months insurance in the game right now. When that's going to change is when the game goes production. So when this becomes a public, open, anyone can play game as long as they have a license, and it's no longer in an alpha state or early access, insurance will start from the date of launch. And insurance will expire at the end of its term. Every ship has at least 6 months insurance, unless you're purchasing it with in-game credits, at which point it comes with no insurance. When a ship's insurance has expired, which will happen again in the future, you'll have to purchase a new copy of that ship if you don't have insurance when it blows up. So very much like EVE Online, where you lose a ship, you got to go buy a new one. Star Citizen at least has insurance to protect your investment for a limited period of time. Purchasing ships in the pledge store by pledging towards the game, you will get in the insurance that's included with that standalone ship or that package. Game packages and purchases through the store for standalone ships. When you click on more info, we'll show you how much insurance it comes with. And every now and then they'll do sales where a ship will come with 5-year insurance or 10-year insurance, or the very coveted lifetime insurance. That LTI token, lifetime insurance token, stays with that ship purchase and stays with it through the upgrade process. So for example, if you buy an Aurora ES, which is $20 as a pledge USD, you will get the insurance that comes with it. So if they put an LTI token, if they say it comes with lifetime insurance for a limited time, and you pledge $20 in the store, that lifetime insurance stays with that Aurora ES. If you later upgrade that Aurora ES to an Aurora MR by paying an extra $10 US, that lifetime insurance token transfers during the upgrade process to the new version of the ship. And it continues to transfer as you upgrade that ship further and further up the line. This is called chaining. Now, note, if you purchase the Aurora ES in-game with in-game credits, I think it's less than 150,000 credits. Like, you can earn that much in a couple of hours, if that. Like, the starter ships with in-game credits are incredibly inexpensive and very easy to replace. But they don't come with the insurance, and they don't come with the LTI token if there is one. So the advantage to pledging, you're getting early access to the ship, and you're getting a guaranteed time after the launch of the game, during which you won't have to pay out of pocket in-game through in-game credits to replace that ship if it blows up. This is an important thing for you to understand before you start investing a lot of time in this game. Now, why would they set it up that way? Obviously to keep funding the game. It's a good reason, and it's a good game. It's also something that a lot of games don't have. See aforementioned EVE Online. And this is not a pay-to-win scenario. You can achieve all of these ships in-game. Pledging simply gives you access to them and persistent access in the event of a wipe. Because this game is still in early access, occasional programming wipes are needed by development to eliminate bad code, to reset ships back to their standings, and wipes are part of the development process. Any ships that you pledge towards or that are included in your game package that you purchase through the store will be there after a wipe. Anything you've purchased with in-game credits goes away. So good things for you to know. Let's take a look at the basic lineup of ships that are currently available for pledge from the store, starting with the Aurora MR. This is the ubiquitous model that most streamers and players of the game have for a very long time and recommended to new players. It's also one of the very first ships that was available to the game. It comes with a few pros. First, it's an extremely versatile starter ship. It's inexpensive to operate, and it has very small face dimensions. And what that means is that when you're flying around in space and you're shooting somebody else and they're shooting back at you, this ship is narrower on its width and its height than it is on its length. So it has a broad side when you're looking at it from the side, but it's quite narrow, and it's, you know, fairly short in terms of like the front face. So the front face is a very small box. It makes a small target to shoot at when you're going head to head with somebody else, which makes it, I mean, that's an advantage in combat. You're smaller to hit. You're a little bit more maneuverable in space, and that's a good thing. It can also fit several weapons in a couple of different missile hardpoints. So you end up in the situation where you have a fairly versatile ship that's a small target. It does, however, have a drawback, which is that it flies like a brick in atmosphere. This is a ship that does best in space combat. And while it enters atmosphere just fine, and it can fly down to the surface, take off, do everything that other ships can do, it's just a lot less maneuverable in atmosphere. But at $45 USD starting price, this is a perfectly fine ship to choose. It does have an interior living space, and it has 2 entrances, one on either side. And you can use this ship for box missions where you go and deliver something, pick up a box, take it somewhere else, drop it off. Ships that don't have an interior living space can't be used for those delivery missions. It also has a bed, which means that you can log out from space or from planet side without having to go to a spaceport or a starbase. Now, there are a few different models of the Aurora, and I want to take a second to kind of look at those. There are other videos covering these features in more detail, but I'm just going to talk about this from a high level. So why would you start with the Aurora MR package versus just buying it as or pledging towards it as a standalone ship when there's a few different models available? Well, the bare bones starter, the Aurora ES, is $20 USD as a standalone ship. This is certainly a way to get into the Aurora lineup, but I will tell you that in-game, the Aurora ES is only 120 to 150,000 credits. It is an extremely inexpensive ship to buy with in-game credits. You can make that much money in a couple of hours, if that. You know, you can do it in an hour. There are guides out there that'll show you how to do it. So you can get into the bare bones starter in the Aurora lineup fairly cheaply. You can get into the Aurora MR, missile reconnaissance, or the CL, the Clipper, at any time for about 200 to 250,000 credits. So again, 3 to 4 hours worth of work, you can replace those ships. It's not expensive to pledge into these ships. The light fighter, the MR, which is the standard offering that you get with the game package, and the light freight model, which comes with 6 SU of usable cargo space, are $10 or $15 apart in price. They're really not worth the expenditure to get into, in my opinion. They are cheap enough to buy in game that if you really want to try flying the Aurora, better off just starting off with a different starter package and purchasing an Aurora in game. The one place where I differ on this is occasionally you will see the Aurora LN, which is the Legionnaire, used in starter packages. The Aurora LN includes 2 additional guns, so it comes with 4 guns, and 2 additional missiles. So it comes with a larger missile rack. This makes this ship a fantastic choice for a small maneuverable fighter with a decent weapons payload. In fact, as compared to several of the other starter ships, if you can get the Aurora LN in a starter package, do it. It's a great ship. Now let's look at the other available options. And by the way, for $10, you can upgrade your starting game package with the MR into the LN. It's just a $10 change in price. You just upgrade. You can also get into the consolidated Outland Mustang Alpha. The Mustang Alpha used to be sort of the B tier option for starter ships because it didn't have a usable cargo space. There's no interior bed for you to sleep in and log out. And there's no interior cargo space in the cockpit, but it did have a non-usable cargo box that has since been fixed as of version 13.7.2. So you are now in a position where you can use this ship for cargo runs and for box deliveries. You can access the physicalized inventory of the ship from its cargo box. And as far as its maneuverability, atmospheric flight, and cockpit visibility, this is actually the game package I recommend all new players start with. Not only is it a better looking and better flying ship, but it has the additional hard points that the MR and the Legionnaire from the Aurora series will benefit from. The only difference between this and the Legionnaire is that it doesn't come with the additional weapons and missile rack built in. And the one significant drawback, if you're looking at it from pure firepower, the Mustang Alpha doesn't have the ability to fit missile racks. It's strictly a gunship. It's a small maneuverable fighter. However, as a fighter, especially if you're using laser cannons, this is a fantastic ship, and I strongly recommend that you consider flying this and just purchase an Aurora with in-game credits to fly that, or rent it for a short period from a ship rental facility in-game, and away you go. This is honestly the starter package that I recommend everybody look at considering, because there's no drawbacks to it. As it stands, as a ship, there's really not a significant con taking away from this. It's great in space, it's great in atmosphere, It's small, it's maneuverable, it has extremely low operating cost. There's really no cons to this ship. Then we have the Anvil Aerospace C8X Pisces Expedition. This ship started off as a runabout or as a pocket shuttle for the Carrack, which is a large vessel that has a built-in hangar. At $60 USD for the standard starter pack for the ship, you're getting the game license, but you're also getting this 3-seater runabout shuttle. Now, one of the big advantages of the ship is that it has 3 seats. You can take 2 fellow crew members with you. It's your real first multi-seat setup that you're going to be able to get into. It has decent starting ordnance with 4 weapons, 2 laser cannons and 2 laser repeaters. It's a great little delivery ship, and it's a small package. It's quite maneuverable in space. It's not as great in atmosphere, but still perfectly viable. It is, however, terrible as a combat ship. It's just too slow to be effective for really, head-on space-to-space combat. And it only has the 1 shield generator, so it's fairly weak in terms of armament. Then we have the Origin JumpWorks 100i, or as I like to call it, the Space Mercedes. This has the lowest operating costs of any starter, which I suppose kind of breaks the idea that it's a Mercedes, because Mercedes are crazy expensive on gas. But this ship generates its own fuel when flying through atmosphere. So it will refuel its hydrogen and its quantum fuel simply by using the built-in refinery. It is fast, maneuverable, one of the most joyous ships to fly in atmosphere. It's extremely low profile, small, and it's very, very good in atmosphere. Like, it really is just a delight to fly. And aesthetically, it's the most pleasing. At $65 USD for the standard starter package, though, it's getting a little bit more on the expensive end. And its starting shields and armament are not what I would say. Combat is definitely not the primary role of the ship. This is primarily a get you where you need to go ship, a touring vessel if you want to tour or explore, and a really good ship for doing ground missions. Now, it does include an internal living space, including a small storage area. It is a great ship for doing box and small cargo missions. And honestly, as a daily driver, you cannot go wrong with this ship. The armaments on it does come with a couple of missiles and a couple of size 1 weapons on gimbals. So this ship, will get you out of a fight, if you're just taking 1 or 2 small vessels, or if you're doing very low risk target bounties. You might even be able to, if you're a good pilot, get away with LRT missions for bounties, but I wouldn't try anything more demanding than that. And if you ever get stopped by quantum interdiction, meaning that NPCs create a field that you can't quantum away from, your best thing to do is to take advantage of the max speed of the ship, burn all the way up to max speed to get away from them, and then quantum away. There are a couple of other models of the 100i available as upgrade options or as standalone pledges in the standalone ship section of the store. The 125A is a dedicated fighter. It has the same hard points as the 100i, but it has the advantage of an additional missile bay that adds 4 additional missiles. And you have the 135C, which supplants the missile bay that you get in the 125A, or a 6 SCU cargo bay that folds down from the back of the ship. I really don't think that the cargo added by the 135C, you're not going to make a huge profit on 6 standard cargo units. But if you're doing a lot of box delivery missions and you plan on doing 3 and 4 stops at a time, that's where the 135C becomes really useful. The 125A is actually not bad as a light fighter, but you have to be economical about your missile choices and which weapons you fit. Now, you don't need, with the 125A, because it's extremely maneuverable, you don't need to have ships on gimbals. You can just do fixed forward-firing weapons and do quite well in this ship, but it's definitely something that takes a little bit more skill to fly and be effective in it, especially given the small shield size. Moving on from there, we have the Aegis Dynamics Avenger Titan. Now, the Avenger Titan is a favorite of a lot of streamers and a lot of people who mentor new bros. At the standard price of $70 USD for the game package, currently it's on sale. I think it's for $45 right now, leading up to the free-to-fly Thursday coming up this week. This is a really good ship generally, but I'm going to piss a few people off by saying it's not my favorite ship, and I have a few reasons why. As for pros, it has the most storage of any starter ships. You have 8 standard cargo units in a rear bay that's large enough When you drop the ramp, you can fly a small ground vessel into it. So hover bikes specifically and hover quad will fit in the cargo bay of the ship, which does add some utility. It has the highest pure firepower of any starter with a size 4 ballistic cannon on the front. Now, the difference between ballistic and laser weapons is that ballistic weapons use ammunition, and that ammunition depletes. So if you just sit there and hold down the trigger, you'll run your magazine dry really quickly. You have to be really kind of selective about when you're firing and that you're actually going to be landing shots to make that size 4 weapon really work for you. The dual mode entry to the ship is an advantage, though, where you can climb in through the cockpit using a side ladder, or you can come up through the rear bay. Additionally, the ship does have a living area with a bed that you can log out from, which is, very advantageous. And it's a good sized ship for doing a lot of different types of missions. It has a lot of versatility. However, the cost to reload that size 4 ballistic weapon and the cost to value ratio at $70 USD for the value of this ship, I just think it's getting on a little bit on the expensive side. And if you really wanted to take advantage of the extra firepower from the ship, what you're really looking for is to get into a ship that's more combat focused. And really, if you're going for the combat focus, this ship is fairly large. Like it's on the small ship size, definitely one of the bigger small ships available, second only to the Nomad. And because of that, it has a couple of very large broadsides. The inferior underneath the ship and the superior view of the ship are basically a big triangle. It's kind of easy to hit, and because it's not as fast as some of the smaller ships, it's not as maneuverable in those fights. Now, it's a perfectly viable ship for combat, and it'll do a lot of multiple roles. If you're interested in the fact that this will help you get around to ground missions faster, and you can take a small vehicle with you so that you can get to and from, underground facility locations easier while parking your ship out of the way, then this ship is a great solution for you. But if you want a combat focused role, you're really going to want to look at the starting package with the Anvil Aerospace Arrow for $20 more. This is the best overall fighter starter pack at under $100. It is the fastest, most maneuverable fighter in the game. It has a highly upgradable weapons package, and because it's such a small ship, you can land 2 of these per base. So if you're flying with friends and you've got a couple of arrows and you can tag team bounties, you will do great because this is a top tier dogfighter. The only drawback with the default layout of its fittings, its default equip, is that its quantum drive will leave you wanting better, but you can replace the quantum drive for about 8,000 in-game credits. So with the money you start the game with, you can upgrade the quantum drive on this and go a lot further. Then we start looking at true multi-crew ships, like the Drake Interplanetary Cutlass Black. The Cutlass Black is in the size of medium ships, the very first ship you're going to want to get into if you're going to be playing with friends. And if you have people who play Star Citizen with you, that you will regularly be able to meet with and play with in-game, this is your best option. It's a true multi-crew ship. It has 3 seats, one for a co-pilot, one for a pilot, one for a gunner. It has a very large cargo capacity at 42 SCU. You can transport ground vehicles up to the size of, I think, the Spartan. It has much better firepower. The manned turret is a big difference in fights, especially when you're doing bounties. It has multiple cargo doors that you can enter and exit from, so there's more than one way to get into the ship. That is a recent change, by the way. And it has a decent stock quantum range. You can fly across the Stanton system 2 or 3 times before you have to refuel. In general, the Cutlass Black has no drawbacks. This is the best multi-crew ship to get into right out the door, and it's also the most economical of them to get into. The starter package starts about $115. You can get into the ship itself through a direct pledge for either $100 or $105, depending on how it's priced at the time. But honestly, if you're going to be playing this game with friends, I very strongly consider that one of you purchase the Cutlass Black and the other guys just start off with Mustangs or something small. But honestly, fantastic ship to get into. Really not that expensive when you consider the cost of games these days. Pledging into Star Citizen and a Cutlass Black is really not that much more than buying a game for the Nintendo Switch. So really, prices be what they may, this is a really good way to enter the game. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time. My name is Jurius Doctor. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, or if you're one of the 80% of people who watch my videos and haven't subscribed yet, I would recommend that you consider doing that. And if you'd like to know when future videos are coming out, I have 5 of them currently in production for Star Citizen. Go ahead and hit the bell icon and you'll get notified when those go live. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to throw those in the comment section below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.